in here tonight is to hear from the head basketball coach here, Southeastern Lions, Coach David Kiefer. Coach, thanks for being here and spending some time with us.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me.
Coach, you're no stranger to Southeastern, but in a different role this year. And before we get to the season and where you're at this point, I guess what's been different for you? I know that the role has changed as now that you're the head basketball coach here at Southeastern, but what's different than maybe you expected? What's maybe some challenges that's taking place here early on?
Oh, yeah, no question. A ton of challenges along the way. Last year it's a lot easier sitting back and not being the head coach and saying what you would or wouldn't do or questioning anything. Not that that's what I did or nothing, but was sitting back and watching from afar is a lot easier. Now all of a sudden I've been given the keys to the car and make all the decisions myself, and it's definitely been challenging. I've learned a lot along the way, but thank God I got a great, phenomenal staff helping me along the way.
For those that haven't been following your program as close as some others, talk about your staff a little bit. I know that when you got the job here at Southeastern, you were super excited about the guys that you were able to bring in to work beside you in this role.
Yeah, the first thing I wanted to look over was loyalty and good basketball coaches, people that I could trust, people that knew what they were doing, good teachers of the game. And I first turned to a close friend of mine that I've known since I was 19 years old, Mark Lieberman, who's the associate head coach here, who's got a great background in coaching in high school in Florida and then high level all the way up to University of Louisville. After that, Coach Patrick Schulte, who I've known for a long time. Both of us has very similar backgrounds, being a manager under Frank Martin, and he's actually also worked in the league at Stephen F. Austin under Brad Underwood, so he's had a lot of success. He's familiar with everything, and I can trust him, and he really is a good teacher of the game. And then Jordan Brooks, lastly, who I've known for actually as a player a little bit from the D.C. area when I coached high school basketball there, and he's really connected player-wise to be able to help us sign some good players and bring these guys along into individual training. And then the support staff that we have, Riley Conroy, and whose dad was former coach at Tulane, young and upcoming coach who's super organized, who really helps me, very different than what I am. I'm kind of more of a big picture thing. He's very detailed and organized and very balances me out. And same thing with Dean Bombert, who's from the Louisville, Kentucky area, coached high school basketball and another up-and-coming star, and he does kind of our video, and they handle our video and operation stuff.
I can certainly hear from just the tone in your voice how excited you are.
Yes.
and impressed with the group that you've been able to assemble here at Southeastern. And again, you've been a part of this program. You were a part of a conference championship, and a team last year that got to the semifinals in the championship tournament over there in Katy, Texas. You know what it takes to win. Here at Southeastern, you had to replace some guys that were obviously outstanding. Two of the best players that ever played for Southeastern, Moses Greenwood and Marlon Veal. And now some new guys are having to fill those roles. And if you look at your roster, I think the first thing that jumps out is there's a lot of youth. 5 freshmen, 3 sophomores, 3 juniors, only 1 senior, Von Julian, who probably had his best game of the year this past week against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But talk about your roster a little bit and some new faces, some new roles for some guys.
Yeah, I think 9 new players or something like that. And it started with this summer. The guys right away bought in, and our strength coach, John Jarvis, who's been here for the past couple of years, he did a phenomenal job of getting our guys physically ready, and especially with being conditioned and changing body fat and body percentage and whatnot from guys that came last year, and then getting the new guys caught up in how Division I workouts go and how hard it is, and he did a really good job with that. But yeah, the 9 new players, I think, and anytime you lose 2 first-team all-conference players, and I think the number 1 and 2 in minutes played or something like that in school history, obviously you're going to have a little bit of a drop-off, but I think the young guys have embraced the role, especially your Ty Brewers and whatnot, and the new guys come in and are starting to figure out, and everybody's been buying in, and I know our record's not tremendous. We've obviously had a rough schedule, but at the same time we're having really good practices. The chemistry has been getting better and better. The enthusiasm is great, and I think it's just going to keep on going up.
And certainly some guys that you mentioned, Ty Brewer, he's right now leading scoring with 17 points per game, got 8 rebounds. He's been outstanding so far this year. But some guys that, again, a year ago, when it was crunch time and you needed a basket, most of the time you're going to Moses, you were going to Marlin. New guys are having to fill those roles. Are you seeing guys take leadership and take on those responsibilities here on this team?
Yeah, for sure. We talked about a minute for. Luckily, the 1 senior we have, Von Julian, he's the heart and soul of our team. He's a great leader. He hasn't played yet this year as far as numbers-wise, stats-wise, what he's capable of, but what he brings in practice every day, how he holds guys accountable. We always talk about great teams are player-led, not coach-led, and he does a good job of holding our guys accountable, making them go every possession, pushing the pace. And as far as the new guys that are having the success, Ty Brewer, Pop Jop, Pop is a redshirt junior, but at the same time he played straight from Senegal to Chipola, sat out, got there in January. Then he played the next year, plays 8 games, breaks his foot. So he had, coming in to last year, 8 junior college games in America. Then last year played about 12, 13 minutes a game, and now we're asking him to start and play 30 minutes, and you can just see him getting better and better every single night. Also, Brandon Gonzalez didn't play last game, had the knee injury, been up and down for us, but another returner. Nick Caldwell, who had an ankle injury, he was getting over an ankle injury. He's going to be a really, really good player.
Yeah, he's shown flashes so far this year.
From
Dutchtown, right?
Yes, Dutchtown, right down the road. I think he's a sleeper man. The only school that offered him, and he's above our level. I think we got an absolute steal from him, and he's super happy to be here. Byron Smith, who's been a really bright spot. To be honest, coming in this summer, and I told those guys, I looked at Byron and Nick as 2 potential redshirt guys, just thinking body type wise and strength, they're going to be a little bit behind, and those are probably the 2 most ready freshmen there are today. So it's funny how things flipped so quickly and how some guys adapt and adjust quicker than others.
David, what's been different for you? I mean, I know obviously you have a lot more on your plate now that you're like you mentioned earlier, you're given the keys to the car, so to speak. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is your first time being a head coach at any level, correct?
Yeah, well, I was the JV basketball coach at St. Mary's Riken for 2 years. But besides that, so basically, yeah, I'd say the biggest adjustment early on this summer, because, as the associate head coach, you had kind of your hands on everything, and you were really doing a lot of stuff, meeting with people across campus, trying to knock things out. And now being the head coach, soon as I got the job, I was still trying to do that, but I was asking my staff to do that too. I didn't really know. They're like, we got it. Go do whatever else. So I'm kind of sitting in the office like, okay, what do I do now? So at first it was kind of like, what am I supposed to do? This is what I've always done. So I was able to just sit down and reflect, write ideas out of how I wanted our team to look, how we wanted to play, what we were going to do, and just learn how to delegate more.
This is the first edition of Inside Southeastern Basketball with Coach David Kiefer. Coach Kiefer this offseason became the 13th head coach in Southeastern Louisiana University basketball history. We have a lot coming up for you here on the night show. We're going to talk about the early season, some of those non-conference games. We'll turn our attention to talk about the 3 conference games that Southeastern's already played as we've turned the calendar here to 2020. And we'll also get you ready for the schedule this week. A couple of big conference games as Southeastern right there in the middle of the Southland Conference race. Before we go to break, though, I got to ask you one other quick question. And certainly for people that have been to your games, have watched you on television, I think sometimes when a coach is elevated off of a staff like you were, you were with Coach Ladner, and Coach Ladner moved on to Southern Miss, and you were elevated to the head coaching position, I think automatically people think, well, you know what, they're just going to keep doing the same things.
Right.
This team doesn't look the same. You play a different style. And for those that haven't seen you play, that are maybe tuned in with us for the first time, that say, hey, I got to go check out a game, what's your basketball team look like in your philosophy that you're going to be playing here at Southeastern?
Play hard, play fast, toughness. We're trying to make them work for every foot of the floor. And then we're going to constantly have you on your heels in defense. We think that we're one of the most athletic and fastest teams, so we're pushing the pace offensively, and then defensively we're really trying to pressure the basketball all game.
That's Coach David Kiefer. Again, this is our first episode here of Inside Southeastern Basketball. We're right here live at Rainbow Daiquiris in Hammond. We'll be doing this each and every Monday night from 7 to 8 o'clock throughout the basketball season. Make sure you come check us out. Let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the non-conference schedule right here on Inside Southeastern Basketball with David Kiefer, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
The countdown to Katy has begun. The Southland Conference Basketball Tournament at the Merrill Center in Katy, Texas. Experience it live as Southland strong teams compete for a tournament title and a chance to go to the dance. It's affordable family fun and great college hoops action. Tickets for the Southland Conference Basketball Tournament are on sale through school ticket offices and Ticketmaster.com.
All right, welcome back. We're live here at Rainbow Daiquiris in Hammond. I'm Alan Waddell. This is Inside Southeastern Basketball with head coach David Kiefer. It's our first episode. Hard to believe that we're in 2020. I know I'm still getting used to writing that on paper and everything right now.
Crazy.
2020 as this is the 2019-2020 college basketball season. And Coach, since we don't get together or have a program until after the new year as we get into conference play, we have a lot to catch up on, catch all the fans up that maybe haven't been paying as close of attention as they should be. But this is a team that always plays a tough non-conference schedule. You came out of the gates and played a Tulane team down there on the road. That was your first game as head coach, and that's a much improved Tulane team that I think that a lot of people are seeing as this season's played out. But you played some good teams. You played Tulsa. You played Vanderbilt. You played Ole Miss. You played a good Austin Peay team. So, I mean, this team is battle-tested so far earlier in this year. And I know that that's something that you're going to do here is always play a difficult non-conference.
Yeah, the non-conference schedule is key to us. When we want to play in the NCAA tournament, and every day when we're in practice, we always simulate, okay, down 1 to Villanova in the first round, down 2 to Ole Miss second round. We see big future for our team, and I think, there's nothing better than playing those guys every day and just to see where your team's at.
You've been able to play some great venues as well. You went to Oklahoma State. You played in that venue. You went to Vanderbilt again. That's certainly a very unique venue as well. You played some close games as well. UL Lafayette. You played Ole Miss in that game that was set up a year ago where you play in Jackson. I think that's good for both schools, but been very competitive in some of these games as well. And, I mean, you look at some of these games. You look at the Tulsa game. This is a game that was tied at 59 with 4:25 to go. At the Austin Peay game, I know that's certainly one that's probably frustrating for you as we had the lead with 8 minutes to go, and they end up pulling away and
we
had
were
some
actually
trouble.
tied with 6 minutes. The first lead they took was at the 6:30 mark, and we missed 20 shots in a row to close the game. We went 0 for our last 20. Just layups, uncontested, so we just couldn't finish it out.
And as I look through some of these games and we're kind of catching up on where the season is at this point, I think that's been one of the themes, and I'll get you to comment on that, is there's been some times where you've struggled to score, where you've played good defense or maybe even jumped out to big leads, but then offensively it's slowed down. What's the reason for that as a coach, I guess, and what are you talking about with your team?
I think the biggest thing is just having new guys playing together and having so many freshmen out there at the same time, just not understanding how to play so much. It was so easy in high school where they could just break a man down and go score it. Now there's help side defenses. Now the teams are switching ball screen coverages. Now they're switching up to zone, to man, just constantly making you think. I think of lately we've been scoring the ball better. We've been able to practice, and those guys have had experience against all different types of defenses, so they're getting better. But at the same time, we go on these long stretches, Oklahoma State's a really good defensive team. It's hard to score against some of those teams that you play against, and they have 6'11", 7-footers down at the basket, so it makes it difficult at times. But, I think the guys have, been getting better at it.
Yeah, certainly so. You look at the Vanderbilt game. This was a game you lose by 8 on the road. You're right there. I mean, Ole Miss, you very easily could have won that game in Jackson.
Yeah, we went through stretches where we, like you said, you couldn't score. Our offense is not helping out our defense at times. And when we have live ball turnovers, you don't have transition defense rules for that. It's hard to get back. And that's been our kind of Achilles heel sometimes, is giving up live ball turnovers, and that turns into quick baskets. And we don't want to have that because we have rules for our transition. We have rules to get stops. But when you have quick live ball turnovers and easy baskets, it's kind of deflating to your team and your offense, and kind of, takes away your mojo a little bit.
I know that early in the year as well, you use these games for an opportunity to kind of figure out your rotation.
Yeah.
Do you feel like at the point where we're at right now, you're 14 games in, do you feel like you have that figured out? And
yeah, I do. I think I feel comfortable playing all the guys. Our guy Maxim Romanov, who missed all summer, who's kind of behind and everything, he's played the fewest amount of minutes, but I feel really comfortable with that guy. And I was just saying earlier to the staff that he's only playing like 5 minutes a game, but he never goes in there and tries to do a me play or a selfish play. He just goes in there and tries to do exactly what it says. It's my job to find him for more minutes when he does everything that we ask him to do. But every one of those guys, like I said, for us to be, I don't even know our record, we don't talk about it, but for us to not have like we want to be, I think, like I said, we've had enthusiastic practices. Guys are bringing it every single day. So I've been around a lot of good coaches. I've been fortunate enough, and I've been around some good back practices, and I see no let up in this team. And they want to be champions.
Lions started Southland Conference play a couple of weeks ago. That was kind of strange as well, because we're going to talk about the Lamar game later on, but the way the schedule fell, you played Lamar, and then you had this big break between conference games because you got a bye, you mixed in some more non-conference games, and then there's always the challenge that you have in college basketball as well is how you deal with Christmas break.
Right.
Talk about some of those challenges and how that all worked out.
Yeah, the league didn't do as much break. You don't want to, you kind of try to flip it on the guys and try to make it into a positive. But really, we had the first game against Lamar. They added 2 games to our schedule from conference from 18 to 20. So this year was the first year that we started before Christmas. So we start before Christmas, which is fine. We play Lamar, but we're the only team in the league that we have, after our first game, we get a bye. So we had to throw in some games in between hand because you also have that break of Christmas break. So we have to play Lamar, which we lose in overtime. We make 1 free throw. We win the game in overtime, but that's a different story. We lose Lamar in overtime. Then you have to play at Ole Miss, on Jackson, Ole Miss, which is at Ole Miss basically, and then at Oklahoma State, and then go back with Stephen F. Austin, who's, the best team in the conference, beat number 1 in the country. It's just a tough stretch there, and then go at Corpus, which we've only won at Corpus 1 time, I think, in the past 9 years or something like that. It was just a tough little stretch in the beginning there.
So the Lions are 14 games in, certainly had some nice wins throughout there as well, and then they got into conference play. Had the biggest one of the year certainly this past week as they knocked off Texas A&M Corpus Christi as they're right in the middle of Southland Conference play. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about that Lamar game. We'll talk about SFA. We'll talk about A&M Corpus Christi. And then later on, we're going to turn our attention to this week for Southeastern's upcoming schedule as they'll be on the road for one and at home in the University Center right here on Inside Southeastern Basketball with Coach David Kiefer, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris on the Southeastern Sports Network.
What do you love most about being a student athlete at Southeastern?
So I chose teammates for life because on our golf team, nobody's from the same spot, but the friendships we've made, once we graduate, I know we'll always be friends, we'll always see each other, we'll always come back and visit.
The Southland Conference, 13 member institutions, over 4,200 student athletes, achieving success in the classroom while excelling in 19 NCAA Division I sports and making a difference through serving others and giving back to the community. Determination, hard work, commitment, excellence, and collaboration. Together, we are Southeastern!
All right, welcome back. Really just getting started here on Inside Southeastern Basketball with Coach David Kiefer, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris right here in Hammond. I want to thank Rainbow for being our host. Been here for a couple of years. Mr. Woody does a tremendous job, his staff, having us here. We have a big crowd on him. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And I see some faces out there, see some family members out there, Coach. I know that you got to be thankful, certainly for opening episode to have this kind of turnout here at Rainbow.
Yeah, for sure. I made my staff come tonight, so they're all in here. But I really appreciate everybody coming. Of course, my wife and kids here. This is big for us. It was a whole process to get everybody out of the house, as I'm sure you understand.
I know you got some people texting you as well. They're watching on the stream as well.
Yeah, my mom told me to just give her a shout out. Hey, Mom.
And look, so if you're listening on the radio right now and you're saying, what are you talking about the stream? One of the big additions to Southeastern Athletics this year has been the Southeastern Sports Network. It's their own channel through YouTube. You can watch it live on any smart TV on your phone. I use it all the time, and all the home games are actually streamed as well. So if you can't make it to the game, you can watch it, and it's great. It's high definition. I mean, they got
just
the score.
Keep it on mute.
Oh, that's a little dig?
That's a little shot at Salim.
That's a little dig at the play-by-play guy there, huh? Seriously, but
no, he does a good job.
But David, I mean, I know that's got to be big for your program, especially when you're talking with recruits and stuff. They can watch your games.
Oh, heck yeah, for sure. I remember around the first year I got here 5 years ago, they used like the security camera from like the back angle, and you couldn't even, when it was on the other side of the court, you couldn't even see who had the ball or anything. Now they have 7-8 different angles. It's HD. It has time, score, play-by-play. It's really
no different
good.
than flipping on ESPN3 or anything like that and watching. I mean, the stream is that kind of quality. Again, it's the Southeastern Sports Network. Every home Southeastern event this year will be on the stream. It's certainly a big addition. I want to thank Colton Vickers and all he does. He's here tonight putting our stream on as well so that the people can watch your program each and every Monday night, but also all those games as well. It's certainly big. Watch the women as well. I mean, any live event that's going on campus, it will be streamed on the Southeastern Sports Network. Coach, let's talk a little bit. We kind of briefly ran through your non-conference schedule. Certainly some tough opponents in there, some games that maybe the scores weren't indicative of how they were played out, especially early on against some of those Power 5 opponents and things of that nature. But then you jump right into conference play. It seems like forever ago.
Right.
But that Lamar game, you jump out the gates again. That was back in December, and as you mentioned, it went from 18 conference games to 20 conference games. So that game was played early on. And a game that on the road, a young team on the road in their first conference game had an opportunity to win, and let that one get away though.
Yeah, that one was tough, and we've always kind of really struggled at Lamar.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play in the league.
We beat them there last year. I think was the only time in my 5 years that we've beat them was last year, and I think we won by 4 or 5, and they had us up by like 17, I believe, at one point. We gave them they jumped out on us 16-5 early in the game this year, and we kind of weathered their storm, calmed down, chipped away, and we kind of just stayed in the game the whole way. And we had a good call at the end to pop. We missed the layup, go to the free throw line. If he makes 2, we win. And give him all the credit in the world. I mean, he gives his best effort. You never blame a guy for a free throw. You can go back and look at 100 different plays instead of just looking at that one free throw. That's what the fans see is he missed that free throw. But we can go back throughout the game and watch 100 different things that could have changed the outcome of the game. But I was really proud of the team. That again, a Lamar team that I think was supposed to be picked top 5 or 6 in the league. And our guys just battling on the road and had many opportunities to win. When we went there, looked at the film, everybody got humbled, listened, was coachable, had a great practice the next day, and think we're just getting better.
And one thing that you said that to me repeatedly, off the air, just checking in on you, saying how's it going the first year. You say, hey man, I really like our practices. I really like the way these kids are responding. I know you got to be proud of that, and you can see it. I mean, your team's getting better every time they go out there.
Yeah, like I said, we try to, the guys, the enthusiasm and the effort and coming in throughout the day, meeting with coaches, watching film, getting individual shots. If it's not just the practice, it's all the other things that those guys are doing. And you can see the ones that are doing the most are having the more success faster.
Coach, let's talk about the league a little bit. I know that this is, again, your 5th year in the league and certainly a very competitive and a basketball league. I mean, this has turned into a basketball league. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in here. Obviously, certainly Stephen F. Austin got a lot of notoriety for our conference earlier this year. They went into Duke and beat those guys when they were the number 1 team in the country. But there's a lot of other good teams, not just Stephen F. Austin in this thing this year. I know going into the season, a lot of people thought UNO was picked to win the league. I think right now they're 0-3. So, right. I mean, it just shows you there's a lot of competitiveness in this
league.
Yeah,
for sure. I think when I got in the league 5 years ago, there was 2 or 3 teams that were on APR probation, couldn't play in the conference tournament, and then you had a transition phase from Houston Baptist, Abilene Christian, and Cardinal Wood that weren't allowed to play in the conference tournament either. So only 8 teams could make it, so all 8 went. And it was just not nearly as competitive what it is now. And I think what Brad Underwood did at Stephen F. Austin, their complete dominance over 3 years kind of made the rest of the league, tighten up, get better coaches, get better players, and now the whole league's become so much more competitive from top to bottom.
So then your first conference home game was against Stephen F. Austin. And before we get into that, you talked about the schedule changing, and you went from 18 games to 20 games. So in previous years, you didn't play everybody twice. You'd only play some teams one time, and they would fall off your schedule and things of that nature. But so what was the adjustment for our listeners and for the fans out there? What was the adjustment from the 18 to 20? How did they account for that other 2 games?
Well, just the biggest adjustment for us was just playing those 2 games before Christmas now.
But as far as your opponents, so Stephen F. Austin in years past, we'd only play them one time.
Right. Well, we're only playing them one time this year.
Right.
Too,
Correct.
Which is weird that some of the way they do it. We play Abilene Christian twice, which is a 10.5-hour bus ride or something like that. But we play Lamar once, which is 3.5 hours down the road. I don't.
So
really
the
know
2
how
teams
they
we
choose
only
them.
played. So the teams we only played once, we've already played.
Yes.
Is that
we only
correct?
I'm
sorry, I put you on the spot there.
Riley, we only played Lamar and Stephen F., right? Yeah, Lamar and Stephen F. one time. And then we play Abilene Christian. We got to play like Incarnate Word and all these schools that are 9, 10, 11 hours. I don't know. I guess it's
whoever's on the schedule.
Yeah,
you're
that's
playing?
who we're playing. I'm not complaining.
So you're that's kind of unique. I guess I didn't realize that you've already played 2 teams that you're not going to play again. So
right, which it kind of stinks having to open up the gates with those guys, and now they got the one-up
you don't
advantage
get a shot
on us,
on
right? So, but it is what it is. Just keep winning. Don't worry about that.
Well, you opened up a conference play at home against Stephen F. Austin. For those that we played that game on Thursday and you played at 1 o'clock, talk about why you played at 1 o'clock. I got a lot of those questions.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing was we weren't going to be able to get a flight. We were going to have to drive, and everybody knows when you get on the bus ride, the Corpus can take about 8 to 9 hours to get to.
Let me jump in for a second. And normally the conference games are played on Wednesday and Saturday. But this was a Thursday, Saturday because of New Year's Day,
New Year's Day, so everybody played Thursday, Saturday, and not complaining, but nobody else in the league had a longer than 3-hour travel to Saturday since it's Thursday. But except for us, we have the Thursday night game. Then they're going to ask us to go play a Saturday afternoon game after a 9-hour bus ride. We weren't going to be able to have practice, so I wanted to move it to 1 o'clock, then to be able to maybe do something that night, and then get maybe morning practice, get on the road or whatever. But fortunately, the athletic department was able to work with us. We were able to budget in a flight and whatnot, and we were able to leave Friday. So it ended up working out. And honestly, I think that's a big reason why we won the game.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, that's tough logistically. You know, when you have to play Saturday night in Hammond. Thursday night in Hammond, and then turn around. But I know there was a lot of questions of why that game was played at 1 o'clock on Thursday. But that certainly makes a lot of sense because you had that long bus ride. But you didn't have to make the bus ride, but then once the plane flight was organized, it was too late. The game was already scheduled that way again because they were playing on Thursday instead of Wednesday. Well, let's talk about the game a little bit. You come out on fire in this game, and this is a good Stephen F. Austin team that's off to a great start. They're the top team in the league right now. But you jump out 10-3, so certainly got the start you wanted against the Lumberjacks.
And I think when we emphasize it every day coming out of practice with a lot of energy and effort, and our problem right now has just been sustaining that for 40 minutes, whether the bench comes in and doesn't hold it on or the starters just get tired and don't tell us that they need a sub. But we've been a really good job of jumping out on teams, and to be honest, I think that's, one, we're ready, but two, I think that we really do defensively pressure people really hard, and I don't think people are ready for that. You can't simulate what we do in practice, just like when you play certain teams like Stephen F., how they play. We can't simulate how they play because we don't play that way. You can't simulate 255 pounds in the post when you got 200 pounds. Just the way you practice every day, and I think that people are caught off guard a little bit because I think we really do bring pressure.
I thought one of the keys in this game was their ability to get to the foul line. Yes. They shot 32 free throws in this game. What were they doing there to get to the foul line?
Just going to the ball harder than us, moving us out of the way. Again, we get mad at our guys, and sometimes we'd have good positioning, but we got not one of our posts weighs more than 200 pounds, and you look at their guys, their starting 3 was 215, their starting 5 was 260, their starting 4 was 245. They were just, and every single one of the guys had a full beard. Byron Smith's got braces and not a single hair on his chin. We're not ready for that yet. I think physically. You talk about Byron Smith. I know this is a guy that you're super excited about. He had a big game, though, 15 points in this game, 6 of 9 from the floor. He led you in scoring. So freshman against arguably one of the best teams you're going to play all year puts up 15 at home against the Lumberjacks. Yeah, go through all 3 of the games. And back to the first game, Lamar, they got their point guards averaging 16 a game. We put Byron on him, and I think the kid goes 3 of whatever with 7 or 8 points. Then you go to the Stephen F. game. He's playing against John Como, who's a fifth-year senior who's played in 3 NCAA tournaments, who's been been there forever, has started for multiple years, and is just a tough kid. And he gets limited to 21 minutes, and Byron Smith outplays him, and he doesn't shoot great from the field. I think he was 1 for 5 or something like that, a couple of turnovers. Then you go to this past game, he guards Miles Smith, who's averaging 16 points a game, and Miles Smith, I think, ended up with 8 points. And he's just kind of been taking their other team's point guard or best guard out of games. He's been a weapon for us defensively.
One little theme that I'm just kind of hearing from, and again, I get a relationship with you guys as I do more and more of these shows, but you're talking a lot about defense. Obviously, I can tell that's what's big in your heart and the style you want to play. And I mentioned Byron Smith's 15 points, and you flipped it right around to defense. So if you're gonna play for you got to play defense.
Yeah, you got to play defense, and that's why sometimes you see some of these guys. I think Byron and Ty Brewer taking some crazy shots, some of those no yeses that go in that I just kind of am okay with because of their effort. And I think they're rewarded with taking some of those shots. That's not what we want, not what we teach, but we hang our hat on our defense and our effort. And if they're giving tremendous effort and they're playing as hard as they can, sometimes they'll throw them a bone and allow them to take some shots like that.
We talked about Ty Brewer earlier. He's leading you in scoring right now, 17 points, 8 rebounds a game. Are you surprised with his ability to score the basketball? I mean, he obviously played great last year, played limited minutes. He had some injury problems there late in the year, but, man, he's really showed the ability to score, even with some mid-range jump shot game.
Yeah. When Coach Artigues called me and told me about the job, he was one of the first people I met with because I knew the way that I wanted to play. I knew we wanted to play fast. I knew we wanted to be athletic, and I wanted to get up and down the floor. I've always envisioned a team, if I was ever to be lucky enough to become a head coach, that we would press. And Ty is built for that. Ty is not the most skilled basketball player, but Ty is an athletic freak, and he's a weapon with the way we play. Really, Ty should be on the football field playing wide receiver as fast as he is, and he's 6'6".
Coach Selfbush, he might take you up on that.
Right, but he's a weapon for what we do, and I knew right away that if I could get him locked in and engaged every day, that he'd be one of the best players in the league. And now that's just a process. Ty's only 19 years old, so you go through that every single day, and there's going to be ups and downs with him, but he's been phenomenal.
Do you feel like those guys that maybe played in last year's system, it's starting to get a little more comfortable here that we're 14 games in this conference slate?
Yeah, I think early on there's never been pushback. We got the greatest guys, but I think some guys, Brandon Gonzalez has been here for 4 years, Maxwell Starwood, even Jeremiah Saunders is going through injury now, Pop Job, Ty. We did things a certain way, and Coach Ladner was unbelievable with the way he did things. I just have been around different people, and I have a different style.
Right, you have your own identity.
Yeah, and the way we do things. And I think it was hard adjustment at first, but I think the guys are really starting to buy into what we're doing.
Well, certainly some major improvement, and the Lions got their big victory this past week against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about that win as the Lions knocked off the Islanders, and then we'll turn our attention as Southeastern has 2 more big games this week. We'll break down those opponents when we come back right here on Inside Southeastern Basketball with David Kiefer, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
The countdown to Katy has begun. The Southland Conference Basketball Tournament at the Merrill Center in Katy, Texas. Experience it live as Southland strong teams compete for a tournament title and a chance to go to the dance. It's affordable family fun and great college hoops action. Tickets for the Southland Conference Basketball Tournament are on sale through school ticket offices and Ticketmaster.com.
All right, welcome back. Inside Southeastern Basketball, here with Coach David Kiefer, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris. They're our title sponsor, but also our host. I want to thank Mr. Whitty and all that they do here at Rainbow Daiquiris for all of our programs. And certainly we'll be here each and every Monday night from 7 to 8 o'clock. Lions got their first conference win of the year a few days ago against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Wins at 84-80, and to my knowledge, Coach, when's the last time we won over there? I mean, we won there last year, but in a different arena.
Right.
I know this has been historically a very tough place for Southeastern in basketball.
Well, last year was the first time we beat them, period. Since I've been here for 5 years, we couldn't beat them at our place or their place. Coach Wilson's kind of had our number. But, yeah, I was really proud of our guys' effort. We kind of – and I know the score flip-flopped us in a little bit, but – I really think those were for different factors. I think our guys gave great effort for 40 minutes that night.
Yeah, listen, anytime you go on the road in a conference game, it's always tough to win. And you jumped out to a big lead. You're up 43-17 at one point in this game and say, hey, we might run them out the building. But you got to give them credit. They hung around and found a way to get back in the game there in the second half.
Right, it's a college basketball team. We told those guys, Division I team, you're not going to jump on them and they're just going to quit. This isn't high school. Those guys are coached really well. It's one of the best coaches in the league, I think, one of the best well-coached teams in the league, and they weren't going to just come down and lay out. Those guys were going to come back out. We knew we were going to take the punch, and we did take the punch, and we kind of stumbled a little bit at the same time. We were able to regroup. We didn't point fingers and blame or anything. We came back together, and Von Julian, for the most part, brought us together and didn't allow us to lose. I think he went 10 for 10 from the free throw line in the last 2 minutes of the game or something like that. Yeah,
he had 20 points. It's a career high for Von, and you mentioned it earlier. This is a guy that's really the leader of your basketball team. He's the only senior on the roster, but if you're going to compete for this thing, he's going to have to play well, and he did that. Here on the road in a tough environment at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. He puts up 20 points. He had 4 assists and 4 steals, and he was 10 of 11 from the free throw line. And you got to make those free throws to kind of seal the game at the end, and you were able to do that.
Yeah, and we haven't been making free throws all season, and that's been a kind of our Achilles heels. We were one of the worst places. I think we might be last placed in free throws at that time, so we've been doing
Hold on, Chris gave me the stat. I'll tell you here in just a second. Keep going.
Besides my wife telling us that we needed to shoot more in practice, we've been trying to simulate more things from the free throw line. Just we're going to run if we miss, and everybody goes up there and shoot. Just trying to put a little more pressure on the guys, and I think that they rose to the occasion.
We're shooting 63% from the foul line, and you mentioned that was last in the conference, but this past week you shot 76%. So much better this past week.
And really, we should be. Ty Brewer and Pop Jop are the ones that have been shooting horrific from the free throw line, and they are probably our best mid-range shooters. It's just focus, man. I really think that's what it is, and just getting in there and getting reps. And those guys have been doing that of late, and hopefully it continues to go that way.
Yeah, Pop Job had a big one in this one, Coach, 23 points, and you just mentioned it, but he was 13 of 15 from the foul line. So, if he's going to play physical, play down low, he's going to get to the foul line, and you got to knock those foul shots down, and he did it, going 13 of 15, put up 23 points.
Yeah, we watch that film again, I've watched that game probably 4 times, and his effort and to just run the floor every single time down was getting their bigs tired. They were big, strong kids, but Pop is very athletic and Pop's very fast. So when we were able to get the rebound, his job was just beat him down the floor every single time, and those bigs were getting tired. They were laying it on them. They were fouling. When you get tired, all of a sudden, you start fouling, and that's what happened, and Pop can run all day.
David, we've seen your team have a couple of games this year where you jumped out. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't hold on. I think back to the UL Lafayette game, maybe one of the strangest games. You jumped out to a big lead, and they rallied, and then they end up pulling away there at the end. But do you think your team maybe learned from that, in this win to get this one against
Yeah, I
Corpus
think
Christi?
the biggest thing, and we talk about it all the time, is being offensive sensitive. And I think young teams are like that, where we try to hang our hat on defense, but at the same time, all kids like to score the ball. And when we didn't see our shots go in, our effort and intensity wasn't the same on defense. And they can say whatever we want that it was, but if you watch the tape, it's not. You'd see guys make shots, and all of a sudden they'd run up there and guard the best they can. Then you'd see, if they'd miss a shot, a head would drop, and they wouldn't be where they're supposed to be. Because our whole thing is to guard them as soon as they try to take the ball and bounce. So anytime they're able to just get it and throw it in without having to make them work at all, that's a disadvantage us. Again, we have post players that are over 200 pounds, but we're fast. So our advantage is pick up full court. Don't let them play in half court because we're not as strong, or we don't have the girth. But again, our advantage is the speed. So when we just allow teams to just easily bring up the ball up the court, it makes it harder for our defense.
David, you look at where you're at right now in the conference at 1-2. This is very similar to when I sat here last year with Coach Ladner. I mean, you were on that staff. I mean, this is very similar to how it was a year ago, and this is about the time of the year that your team kind of took off.
Yeah.
Do you feel that kind of momentum going towards? Do you feel that right now as you're in conference play?
Yeah, I really do, and I've really felt like that for a long time. We've been talking about let's start stacking wins now. Let's just start stacking wins, but at the same time, let's just not forget about just handling every single day. Let's make sure we had a great practice today. We got the guys in for film, had a mental sweat, watched last game, learn from our mistakes, but also watch the positive things, because we brought those guys in at Stephen F. Austin, and we told them what it was going to be. We told them that they were going to come in, they were going to bully us. That's their kind of the deal. And our guys, the young guys not realizing, nobody's going to bully me. And then you show them the tape where we got bullied. So now we got humbled a little bit and said, look at this guy pushing you here, look at this. So then we go through that, guys, and our guys accepted the challenge. Now we put on the next day the Corpus game, and you see us doing what Stephen F. Austin did to us. We do that to Corpus. We accepted the challenge, and we were bullying them around and moving around a little bit, and guys were hitting bodies. We were the first one to the floor. We were getting 50-50 balls. We were just competing more than them, and we have to now that we've done that, we've set a standard. We can't go back, and we just need to continue to build upon that.
And there's just so many players on this team that just haven't been there, and they're learning every week, and certainly, those non-conference games are important, but it just seems like it gets amped up a little bit when you get in conference play.
Oh, no question. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows what to expect. We've been playing Sam Houston for 5 years. They haven't been doing anything different. I think we have the element of surprise. Nobody really kind of knows what to expect from us. But everybody else, except for the new coaches, but everybody's back from last year. So nobody's doing anything. From what I've seen, the teams that I've watched, and again, I haven't watched everybody yet, locked into our team, but everybody's doing the same thing, and who everybody's players are. There's a couple new guys here and there, but everybody's like you said, locked in, engaged more, and when it gets to conference, it just means more.
All right, let's talk about your schedule for this week. And certainly the conference didn't do you any favors, as 3 of the first 4 in the league are on the road, and your one home game was against SFA. But this Wednesday at 6:30, you're going to go over to Huntsville, Texas, and take on Sam Houston State Bearcats. They're 10-5, 3-1 in the Southland Conference right now. And this is a team that they won the conference a year ago. This is a very good basketball team. Yes. I know some of those guys are gone, but talk about what you've been watching as you get ready for the Bearcats on Wednesday.
Yeah, same thing as one of the most well-disciplined teams in the league. Coach Hooten, I think, just like Coach Wilson's one of the best well-coached teams in the league. That's why they're always top 3, always top 4. They went 16-2, I think, in conference last year. Got upset in overtime to UNO in the semifinals. But they lost some really key players, but they bring back some really good players. They have 2 forwards. Big kid Kai Mitchell is preseason first team all conference. He's about 235, 240 in the middle, and that's kind of been again our Achilles heels with our 200 pounds forward. So we're really gonna have to pick the pace, make him run, make him work, try to get him tired. And they got another kid, R.J. Smith, who hurt us at the 4 a little bit. Again, a guy who's about 215, 220, athletic, that can shoot the ball. They played their last game, which they lost to Nichols, but they didn't have their starting 1, 2, or 3. And if you take anybody starting 1, 2, or 3 out, it's probably going to be a little different. I'm expecting the way we played, that we were good, and how we play, that whatever happened, if it's discipline or injuries, I know Chad Bowie's was an injury. I'm not sure about the other 2, that I'm expecting and preparing for them to play. We want them to play anyway, just to see where we're at as well. But they are a team that's very, very scrappy defensively. Any time we come over and call a play, they're going to know every single one of our plays. They're great job of scouting, and offensively it's going to be a lot of ball screens. So it's really going to test our defense. And one thing we work on every day is ball screen coverage, because that's kind of what the game's formed to, and they do a really good job of it.
I remember a year ago, and again, it's the same staff and a lot of the same personnel. This is a team that really wanted to keep the score low and kind of try to grind you out. They beat us at home 62-52. It was a real close game all the way through, and then they kind of pulled it away there late in the second half. But this has historically been a tough place for Southeastern to play. Looking for we haven't won over there since 2008, so wow. This has certainly been a tough place for Southeastern to play. But this has been a tough place for a lot of people to play. Yep. They're 47-7 at home since 2016.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that we hadn't won it since 2008. I know that we hadn't won at their place since I had been at Southeastern. It's been, like you said, it's been a tough place to play. Coach Hooten does a heck of a job.
So the Lions will take on Sam Houston State. That's Wednesday at 6:30. Again, you can listen right here on the network as well. And then you turn around, you play home. And we were talking about it off the air. The way your schedule kind of works out, it's like 2 on the road, 2 at home, 2 on the road. So you play Corpus on the road, you play Sam Houston, then you'll be back here on Saturday to take on Nicholls State. This is a good team as well. They're off to a really good start. They're 9-6. You just mentioned they went to Sam Houston and won this past week. They're 3-1 in the league. They had a big out-of-conference win earlier this year.
They beat Pitt, and I think they lost to Illinois in overtime, too.
Yeah, so they have a good team. And this was a team that 2 years ago we were battling with for the conference championship. A year ago, they had a new head coach. They had some new personnel, trying to figure some things out. But what are the Colonels doing so far this year to make them so successful?
Well, I haven't watched a ton, been locked into Sam Houston, but I have seen them a little bit, and I know they had some guys that sat out for them last year, one or two high major kids that were sitting out last year that are able to play this year. So they've been, just like previous years, they've been really getting up and down the floor, shooting a lot of threes, scoring the ball. Their deal has been scoring. But I've been noticing defensively they've been really trying to guard more like Stephen F. Austin as far as trying to get in passing lanes and really pressure the ball. They weren't doing that as much last year. They even played a little bit of zone, but they're really trying to speed the game up, both sides of the ball.
It's a 4 o'clock tip right there in Hammond at Southeastern. Come out to the University Center and watch this one. Again, it will be on the network. You can listen, or you can also watch right here on the Southeastern Sports Network through YouTube. Last year, the Lions and the Colonels, they split their games. Southeastern won here at home 91-70, lost over there at Nicholls 69-62. Southeastern leads the all-time series with Nicholls State 57-46. Nicholls is hot again, though. I said they've won. They're 9-6 right now. They're 3-1 in the league. They won last week against Incarnate Word and Sam Houston State. They're led by Dexter McClanahan, 6'4" guard. He's actually from Ellenwood, Georgia. He's scoring 15 points per game. So that's what will be on the schedule for Saturday. But before that, it's Sam Houston State on Wednesday night at 6:30. Let's go ahead and take our final break of the night. When we come back, we'll wrap it up here on Inside Southeastern Basketball with David Kiefer, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
What do you love most about being a student athlete at Southeastern?
So I chose teammates for life because on our golf team, nobody's from the same spot, but the friendships we've made, once we graduate, I know we'll always be friends, we'll always see each other, we'll always come back and visit.
The Southland Conference, 13 member institutions, over 4,200 student athletes, achieving success in the classroom while excelling in 19 NCAA Division I sports and making a difference through serving others and giving back to the community. Determination, hard work, commitment, excellence, and collaboration. Together, we are Southeastern!
All right, welcome back. This is Inside Southeastern Basketball with David Kiefer, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris here on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network and on the Southeastern Sports Network. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be tonight, whether listening on the radio. We've got several affiliates in the area that are picking up this show, and also on YouTube on the Southeastern Sports Network. This is our first edition here in 2020. I still have a hard time getting used to writing that 20 at the end of my dates. As I hope everyone had a happy New Year as we're getting this thing started out. A new decade started out strong here. But, Coach, first night kind of in the books. Is this what you expected, or what? Do you get an opportunity to give all your fans, all the Southeastern fans, a really an inside look into your program?
Yeah, I really like it. It's pretty cool. I'm lucky to be able to have a great staff and support at the school and in the city of Hammond, and this great spot we hear. Mr. Whitty's been an unbelievable supporter since day one, since I got the job, and really lucky.
Lion basketball off to a 1-2 start in the Southland Conference, but certainly a very young basketball team right now. And I know that's not an excuse of why you lost some of those games earlier this year, but you can see your team progressively making strides every week, and I know that's certainly something that you're excited about as we move forward here for the rest of the season. I got some people asking me, David, to make sure I bring it up, is I know people that have watched you practice and just seen your team around town is Mr. Brackman.
Yeah.
Talk about him. I know he's not eligible this year, but talk about the situation with this young man. I know you're really excited about getting him to campus.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I haven't really talked about everybody. We talked about girth and not having – we got two guys sitting out right now, combined 510 pounds. So we got some meat coming in. Avery Wilson is a guy transferred from Boston College in the ACC, who is an ACC-type player. He's going to be a really, really good player for us. He's about 6'4", 230 pounds, 7% body fat, can play 1, 2, 3. Again, Coach Selfo not here. Luckily, he should be on the football field. He looks like a Greek god, just ripped up, and can really do anything, and just a bulldozer on the floor. And then Max Brackman is 7'2", 285 pounds, of just a really big human being. He's got a lot to learn. Only played basketball for 3 years, but really physical. He's mean. Off the floor, great kid great kid off the floor. On the floor, really mean guy, just physical, moves people around, just still learning, but you see him getting better every single day, and he works every single day, asks questions. He's like a sponge. He's going to be really, really good player. We're lucky to have him. He's from Germany. He missed the entire summer. Had a kind of a weird deal over there. They have like 4 or 5 different routes to go through high school, and one of the routes that he decided to go when he first decided, because he was only like 6'4", 6'5", didn't even play basketball. He actually played water polo. That route he decided was a trade. So he's actually now a certified electrician, but unfortunately he's not NCAA qualified. So this first year he's going to have to sit out, and next year he'll be hopefully the
so he looks like a trade school,
country.
Basically,
yeah. But his first 2 years he went and did all his cores, and actually had 18 core classes, did all his regular stuff, but because it was 2 years, everything was accelerated, so the NCAA didn't see them as full credits. They counted everything as half credits. So instead of having his normal 16, I think they counted it as like 8 or something. Even though he took everything, it was just accelerated.
But both of those guys you just mentioned there are on track to be a part of the team,
yes.
And they can practice. Is that correct?
Yeah, they practice every single day, so we're able to simulate a lot of things. They Avery Wilson was Kevon Harris from Stephen F. Austin all week, and they both look just alike. And then Matt Brackman's been able to be every high major big that we've played against all year, and just having our 200-pounders work and fight him every single day just is really good, because he's a big, strong kid.
Well, I had to bring him up because this is South Louisiana. We don't have a lot of 7-footers walking around, and I was at an event not long ago and walking in. I said, who is that?
Oh, he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
The first time we got that film and we saw him dunking, I'm just like, I'm hoping that's like a night an 8-foot goal, and he comes over here, he's like 6'5" or something like that. He got off the plane. It was like one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen.
Well, what's the story? I mean, what was the connection from Germany?
Coach Lieberman knew somebody, some guy. I don't even know. I didn't ask questions. I saw one video of the guy dunking. His arms were all ripped up, and he about brought the hoop down, and he jumped 2 inches, and I'm like, okay, let's see what we got to do to get him. And he got off the plane, and he was every bit of 7'1", 7'2", or whatever, and 285 pounds, and there's not many humans walking the earth that size, so we're going to take that guy.
Well, certainly those are guys that we can look forward to watching next year. But we've got a lot of basketball to play here in 2020. And, Coach, we've got just a couple of minutes left to go here on our show. Give us your final thoughts of your night as you where you're at right now, and then going into this week against Sam Houston State and Nichols.
Yeah, really just excited. I want people to just stay tuned into Southeastern basketball. Watch us Wednesday, come out Saturday night. or afternoon, whenever it is when we play Nichols. And we need the support. Our guys love it, and we got a bunch of new faces. People fell in love the past couple of years with Marlon Veal and Moses Greenwood. I think we got a couple of those guys on our roster, and it's just a fun style. Bring your family, come check us out. I think you'll have a great time watching us play.
Lions will take on Sam Houston State on Wednesday night, 6:30. That's at Johnson Coliseum over there in Huntsville, Texas. You can listen right here on the network. Check out lionsports.net for more information on that game and how you can watch. I'm not sure if they have a stream or anything, but you can certainly check it out at lionsports.net. Also on Saturday, home game, 4 o'clock at the University Center. An opportunity to come watch your Lions against Nichols State. Anytime we play Nichols in anything, I don't care if it's chess, well, we want to beat them. So we'll be playing those guys at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. So make sure you come out and check that. If you can't make it, if you're out of town, you can always watch right there on the Southeastern Sports Network. Well, that's going to do it for us. We're completely out of time. We want to thank Rainbow Daiquiris for being our host. We'll be here each and every Monday night from 7 to 8 o'clock during the basketball season. We'll get Coach Kiefer to fill you all in that's going in to Lion basketball. As that's going to do it for us. For Coach David Kiefer, I'm Alan Waddell. We'll see you next time right here on Inside Southeastern Basketball, presented by Rainbow Daiquiris on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
Appreciate it, Alan.
Inside Southeastern Basketball with David Kiefer is a product of Lion Sport Properties. For more information on how you can support future broadcasts, contact Lion Sport Properties at area code 985-549-2570.